Positive Solutions with Dr. Gordon is a podcast which focuses on contemporary social and educational issues from an educational leadership and behavioral research perspective. We will delve into those issues that are important to you as we listen to understand the needs of others and positively respond to address those needs, concerns, and/or fears. Professionals in their respective fields of expertise, in addition to friends of the podcast, will share their unique perspectives of positive solutions to what matters to you most. Join us every Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central Time, as we share positive solutions to those issues that are important to you.
Good day to everyone, and welcome to Positive Solutions with Dr. Gordon podcast channel. We are very fortunate to have with us today Helen Brenner, who is a certified professional life and leadership coach, and she's also part of the team at Optimal Life and Leadership Coaching. Good afternoon, Helen. It's great to have you with us today.
Thanks so much.
Right, as all of you already know, those who have been watching faithfully, the podcast, Positive Solutions with Dr. Gordon podcast channel, is an affiliate of our online coaching practice, and that's the Optimal Life and Leadership Coaching that we have, that we provide, where we provide services to clients who are maybe stuck, or they want to work on their work-life balance, or they want to help to improve or enhance their social emotional well-being, whether it's domestically at home or professionally on the job, and they want to level up their skill sets as a leader in their respective roles where they work. And so we're very fortunate to have so many different coaches to come on board and to just share their insights, their thoughts about coaching in general and what they do, and how they can help to walk alongside you to help to hold space so that you can move from functional to optimal. And Helen is here, and before we jump into that, I'll just ask Helen to just share a little bit about what brought her from where she used to work in her job to segueing over into becoming the coach that she is today.
Wow, thanks, Vincent. Yeah, I was, for many decades of my life, a therapy client and was not finding, I wasn't finding change. I was finding myself doing a lot of crying, doing a lot of journaling, and doing a lot of what I now know is like intellectualizing. And then in my early 40s, I said, I'm going to do this myself. And I went and got my master's, my bachelor's in psychology and a master's in mental health counseling, because I'm going to figure this out myself. And I went out in the field and I work with people and I'm like, this is not working. This is still not working. And in 2018, when I hit a pivotal time in my life, so I had been through therapy for decades because I'm a survivor of sexual abuse and bullying by kids and teachers. But in 2018, I lost my fiance after I was going through a very long divorce. So I was separated from my husband, going through divorce, engaged to a man, and he died 3 days after my divorce was signed. And my daughter fell in love at 17 for the first time. And I was really at my emotional rock bottom. I was really at the bottom of the bottom. I didn't think I could get any lower in my life. And at the same time in my life came what I do primarily as a coach, which is NLP in hypnosis, which is neuro-linguistic programming in hypnosis. So putting two modalities together. And I decided that I was going to look into other ways of being able to work with clients, because I just wasn't finding that the therapy model was working, that putting people in boxes was diagnosing people and having a certain structure that you have to do with them. I didn't find it helpful for me. I didn't find it helpful for my clients. And I started searching around for alternatives. And that's when I found people who were therapists who were switching over to coaching. One of them actually is a graduate of IPEC. And so I looked at a bunch of different schools and I found IPEC, and I really liked the model of it. It's very solution focused. I was always very solution focused. I don't like focusing on the problem. I want to know, when I was doing substance treatment, great, I'm going to stop you from drinking alcohol or using drugs, but now what? Now what? And so I was always focused in what's next. What do you do? I can I can stop doing these things, but what am I going to do in place of that? And so that's how I started doing the coaching model and doing the peer-to-peer, and noticing just the approach to it was, it's, I would say, like it's like an open concept where you're not putting people in a certain lane to go, that you're in the moment of each question and each response and each transaction of the conversation, that's making the changes, as opposed to a preconceived, this is what we want to get done kind of a thing. And so that's really what, and then I went further on to become a master practitioner in NLP and hypnosis and other more advanced models, and still use the IPEC model, because IPEC is actually based a lot on NLP, in how we well form our outcomes, which is, for those of us who know IPEC, which is the T goals, but having a well-formed outcome is paramount to how we make changes, because we go through our life making decisions based on ill-formed. We don't follow the movie through to see what decision we make now is going to affect us later, because we don't have we had no other knowledge about ourselves. And so what I like about the way I'm doing this is helping people kind of rewrite their past, that their past, there may have been, like, I'm trauma informed. I was a specialist in trauma and crisis counseling. I've been in that space a lot. I'm a survivor of trauma, and to help people have a better relationship with what they went through, whether it was, I made the bad choice in my marriage, I made the bad choice, I'm saying bad in quotes, the bad choice in my career, the bad choice in where I live, to be able to reframe that past to make it be productive, to finding the strengths in it, to be able to go forward into what you really want in your life, what your values and your goals and all those things that are uniquely yours, and not something that other people have thrown in your bucket and said, carry this is what you believe. And that's what I love about, that's what I love about the coaching model, is that it's based on finding a solution, finding your strengths, and not necessarily forgetting the past, but making friends with the past, and also making friends with your own brain. And that's what I specialize in.
That was a lot, and thank you so much for sharing that. No, but it's just it's key and very important what you shared, and that is, there isn't a cookie cutter approach to resolving an issue. And with the coaching model that you talked about, with the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, also commonly referred to as IPEC, where we were all trained, we learned how to focus on the solutions, not the problems. And that's why we are coaches and not therapists or psychologists or psychiatrists. And there's room and space for that modality when necessary. And they focus on dysfunctional and help a person to move from dysfunctional to functional. Whereas we as coaches, we help to move that client from functional to now optimal. And they get to choose. And that's a wonderful thing as to what they determine as what is success for them, what they would hope to accomplish. What are those goals, those SMART goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive? What is it for them? What does it look like? And then how can we assist them to accomplish those goals? And what does success, how would they know what success looks like at the end? How would they know that they have been successful? And so that's how we help to, and we use this expression a lot, help to hold space with our clients. And that's just basically demonstrating empathy, knowing, because maybe we're trained or we've gone through some situations in the past that has helped to inform where we are today, to help to understand what a client is going through. How accurate is that assessment?
Yeah, it's interesting when you say that. One of the things of measuring, so many people don't know how to measure because they don't know they don't know what the measurements are. I don't know if I've been successful because I haven't had the experience necessarily of of rating my success or knowing what it is I really want. And so when I work with people, I really want to get down into helping them really understand, yeah, I want to get a new job, or I want a better relationship, but and I know the word why can be negative, but I like to use the word why in a very curious way.
Right.
Why do you want that? What's kind of in it for you? And it's not in a selfish way, but we really need to look at each person as what's in it for them. What is in it for you that's going to make your life better, as opposed to what are you doing that's going to make everybody else around you happy. And when it comes to like measuring these goals, a lot of times people just they stop dead in their tracks and they say, I don't even know how to answer that question, because no one ever really taught me how to even conceptualize that idea in the first place.
Right. Spot on. And so we remove the judgment when we ask that question, why? And we remain curious because we really want to know, well, what is in it for you, so that we can see what limiting beliefs that they might have, where they feel that they're obligated to have, and then fill in the blank as to whatever that is and why it's important to them. But that's where that law of being comes in. That's one of the curriculum, the courses that we offer. It's just for 4 months. And so we walk alongside our clients with that so they can see what is truly important for them. It focuses on the who they are. And then we also offer the year-long energy leadership design systems, which then focuses on the what and then the why in every area of a person's life. And it's just awe-inspiring to just see the aha moments for a lot of clients when they are able to tap into themselves and realize what their strengths are and how they can create for themselves that autonomous, that freedom of living their lives optimally, the way how they choose to live it, despite whatever external factors might be coming at them. They're able to identify what it is, realize how they are feeling within and how they get to choose to show up and then to respond. That is so empowering. And so we have these strategies that we teach our clients so that they can be successful, however they define that success, but also do so inwardly as well as externally, how they show up on the job or how they show up at home, but yet being authentic to themselves. So we're in a wonderful, wonderful situation that we're able to rely on maybe past experiences, our training, and then we have wonderful guide, a curriculum that we have that we can help to walk alongside our clients. So what would you say would be some sort of tip or word of encouragement for a potential client that's maybe on the fence? They are stuck. They want to move a little bit beyond where they are, but they feel kind of stuck, stifled, smothered, and suffocated, maybe on the job, and they want something a little bit more. Or maybe at home, they're just not satisfied. They feel like they're meandering around doing all the quote unquote right things, but they're feeling unfulfilled. How can coaching perhaps help this person?
Well, ultimately, oh, good question. I like it though. It's a big question. And ultimately it comes down to the person. And when I say this, I don't say this in a way like, it's your responsibility, but ultimately the situation you're in is up to you to decide how you want to perceive it. And I don't say that in a judgmental way. What I'm saying is, like, in other words, you're obviously seeing this as a bad situation and you should just change yourself. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, when we get into situations, we usually get into situations, if we might get into our marriage through hormones. I mean, there may be outside forces. We may get into a career because all the family is doing it. Like the whole family, we're all police officers, or we're all morticians, or we're all teachers. You must know all these people that have so many people in their family. My daughter's best friend, she's a teacher. Her sister's a teacher. I think both her sisters and her mother are all teachers. And I'm like, what if she wanted to become like an accountant? Would they be, behind that? I think there's a lot of influence that we need to start recognizing, that we can either say I agree with that or I don't agree with that. And when I work with people, it's getting into, do I really believe that? Is this really a relationship that I want? And I'm not saying that people are going to bail out of their relationships, bail out of their jobs, but their relationship to it will change dramatically. And they'll start, like let's say it's a marriage, and they love the person, and they find that they're frustrated and stuck, and it could be something within them. It's always something within ourselves that has either a limiting belief, or values that are being stepped on, or things that are going anti to what they really believe in their unconscious, their fundamental self. And in that on that time we're growing, we're taught all these things that we're supposed to be, we're supposed to do, wherever we're from. If we're raised by a single mother, then we're raised to be a strong woman. Or if we're, you know what I mean? Like, that's just an example. But when you work with somebody to be able to figure out why they're stuck, it can be a whole myriad of things. Right. It has to be, you have to get in there gently with curiosity, absolute curiosity, and go in and say, wow, I really don't believe that. Like if my whole family is police officers and I want to be a firefighter, which is it's a very funny anecdote in New York City. Like, if you're a firefighter, you just stay firefighter and you don't go to the other side. It's like the enemy kind of a thing. And what if I want to do that? Wait, I don't want to fight fires. I want to do that. And it could be anything that we have in our life. And it's a lot of times people are afraid to go against the status quo. They're afraid to go against what they were raised. I don't want to rock the boat in my family. I have a great job. I don't want to risk that. So I can't make a move, even though I'm miserable. And then you help them figure out what it is about that job that they really believe that they want to keep, and make it so that it's a job that's fulfilling for them, that they become unstuck in other parts of their life. And I probably didn't answer that question very well, but
no, that is fine, and I appreciate that insight, that other thought of it. And we're not saying that there's something wrong, right or wrong, about if there's a family that all are in the same profession. Like my family, we're all educators, and not just all educators. We all went into English, and for me, as the last child, it just felt right. It just made perfect sense. I'm like, I'm comfortable with this. So majoring in English was what I did, and I got my bachelor's in English, and was an English teacher. Taught high school, junior high and high school English. But I liked it. I enjoyed it. It just came naturally, coming from a household of English teachers. However, to your point, though, some folks have to ask themselves the question: why am I doing whatever it is that they're doing? Is it because it's expected? Is it because I feel like I have no other choice? Or am I consciously doing this because I really want to do it? For me, I wanted to do this. But for others, they may feel kind of trapped, like they have no other recourse but to do that. And it's just for them to be honest with themselves and to do some self-reflection. And if they're feeling stuck or stifled or smothered or not moving forward, whether they've consciously chosen that particular profession or not, what is it that's not serving them? And what is it that they feel would be something that's their passion, where they can show up as their authentic selves? And then what are the steps that they need to take in order to accomplish that? And so a coach walking alongside them to help to explore, like you said, without judgment, but with curiosity, the options that are there. We do have those wheel of life, and we have wheels of life for every area that you could possibly think of, whether it's finances, whether it's, belief systems, on the job, with friendships. We cover the whole gamut of everything area that impacts a person's life. We help walk that client through to finding what it is where they can show up 100% themselves and be truly satisfied as well, especially when external factors might be coming at them.
Well, that's just it. And the wheel of life is you could spend a long time on the wheel of life, because we don't live in a vacuum, and we are so multifaceted, and we could be very successful in our finances, but have a lousy feeling at home, or vice versa. And to have somebody, and I'm not suggesting that I want to work with somebody to change that. That's what I like about this, that it's not for us as the coaches to persuade or come up with any treatment for that. It's a matter of putting a mirror to them and saying, I'm hearing you're saying this. What does that mean to you when I reflect that back to you? Because people don't necessarily, a lot of times, they don't even really know what they're even saying, because they're experiencing it. They're not, and so taking these particular curriculum, and even off the curriculum, is to be able to take somebody through to really take a deep dive into their own self. We go through school and we learn all these different curriculum. We learn English and math and history, but we never learn ourselves. We learn how to live, but we don't learn how to live as us. And that's what I think that's the biggest key to successful coaching, is to helping people know who they are authentically, and using things like the wheel of life to be able to say, of all the things you're doing, what is this one little thing in this whole box of pens? What does this mean to you? Kind of a thing. I like how especially with a curriculum like that, where someone can do it on their own too, and then have the coach beside them, is that they can do this work and then come back and be supported and say, I'm getting some negative beliefs about this, or I'm getting some pushback, within myself from this. And that makes the coaching environment even richer.
You're listening to the podcast Positive Solutions with Dr. Gordon, which is uploaded weekly on Sunday afternoons at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, on your favorite podcast directory.
Beautifully said. And so we go through those limiting beliefs that might be holding that client back, or an assumption that they might have about themselves, or a situation in their lives, whether it's domestically or professionally on the job, or an interpretation, or a negative message that they keep saying to themselves, that they're not good enough. Why do they want this? Or no one is going to accept them for doing X, whatever X is. And so we, again, help them to explore those messages and really asking those questions. Well, how true are those messages that you keep mentioning and saying to yourself? And doing that deep dive through the law of being, finding out the true who within themselves, and what are their values. And some may not even have a list of what their top values are. And so what we would say, for example, what I would say to them is, what are your non-negotiables? Where you would say, this is my non-negotiable, and I will not be crossing this line. And it could be how you show up when someone is being treated unfairly. You will not participate in that. You will demonstrate empathy, and you will have to challenge whoever is, striking out against someone that's vulnerable. Maybe that's a value system that they have within. So how can they help to strengthen that? And that's just one example. Again, working with our clients and helping them to build what their value systems may be. Those that do have value systems, how can they strengthen it and have it show up authentically if they're kind of feeling stuck? And just realizing they're not alone. It's totally normal. Sometimes, depending where we are in our progression as we age, we might have been accustomed to doing things for the past 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but now we've gotten to a point where things are feeling kind of mediocre, and we've done this for so long, and there needs to be a new challenge in place. How willing are we to then step into that new challenge? It could be a promotion as we transition, or it could be relocating to a whole different environment. Whatever it might be, what's causing us to be stuck, and not taking that next step of growth based upon what the client says is success for them.
You mentioned those phrases like "I'm not good enough." Those phrases actually came from outside. We're
External. Yeah.
born, it's called tabula rasa. We're born with an empty slate. All those dialogue that we have in our head has come from somebody else. It's somebody or an experience that has either said those words directly or shown us that we are not worthy, that we can't, we don't belong. And to be able to help people realize that that's not my, I work with people, and I concentrate a lot on, mostly on working in the hypnotic, and like a hypnotic phenomena where we're not under hypnosis, but more like getting into the sensory channels of what do you see in your mind's eye, what do you hear, and what do you feel in your body, because that's how the unconscious communicates with us. And so when you hear these things, it might not even be yours. It's most of the time it's not even yours. It's not people go through life saying, I'm gonna grow up and be a failure. I really believe that when we get people to start realizing that their brain, first of all, is not out to get them, that it's not their enemy, that these words came from experiences and other people. But also the big thing is for people when they change, people don't like change, right? So people themselves individually don't like change, unless you're a person who's constantly looking for change, which is, I think people like us really look for we're looking for change. We're like looking for improvement all the time. But there's a lot of people who aren't ready for that. But collectively, we don't like change. And so a person who is in relationships, like whether it's a boss, whether it's an employee, whether it's a spouse or a child, when we change, it throws off the status quo and it makes other people uncomfortable. So this is why a longer term coaching is a good thing to do, because as you're changing and becoming more self-aware and saying, wow, I don't believe that anymore, this is really not my belief in the first place, other people around push back because now they're getting uncomfortable. And, when I was a therapist and people would go home, they would go home and it's still the same situation. Even years ago, when I went to when I was doing direct sales, and you go to the rah, rah, rah weekends, yeah, and you get home and you're like, ooh, ooh. Well, because my husband was like, never succeed. Why are you even trying? Blah, 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 blah. So all that great hypey was just shot because he didn't think that I could or should or whatever do that. Turns out that he just was a kind of person that wanted to keep me below him. He wanted to keep, he didn't feel successful, and I threatened when I was feeling successful. And that happens a lot to people when we go up the levels. The people in the lower levels get uncomfortable because they're used to getting something from us. And when they're no longer getting it, it causes more distress. That's why having a longer term coaching support system helps people be able to, like, we become, I'm going to be your chariot in this, and I'm going to be your strong in this. I'm going to keep you going while other people around you are adjusting. Like if you have a boss who's just very angry and you've been a person who's been very good at making everything go well for the boss, so the boss is not angry, and you start pulling back and being more self, like, I'm not going to compromise myself because your anger, they can get more angry. And so it can make a person not want to stop, not want to continue on their self-improvement because they don't want to upset this cart over here.
They don't want to rock the boat, right?
Want to rock the boat. I had a boss one time that said to me, I don't want to send you to training because you're going to learn something and leave me. So if I had been that person that didn't want to rock that boat, I would have just stayed stagnant. But I'm a boat rocker, so I went and got training and I left him. And he could have, he didn't, he got more frustrated, he got more friction because I was improving myself and he was, I don't know what he was feeling. I'm not in his head. But you see what I'm saying? So that's why a longer term coaching arrangement or relationship is so good, because we can't change without other people changing around us.
Right.
And so you have to be ready for that, because then it's going to push back. If it's not positive, it's going to be negative. And that's why that supportive coaching and the longer maybe 6 months, a year, where you're either checking in, maybe it's even gone down to like once a month, even, just to be
Right.
able to say, okay, help redefine your goals, is so important for people to. Otherwise, that's why it's so easy to stay the same. It's so easy to stay the same, because changing can be very, very difficult in yourself and within your environment.
Right. Internally, maybe not wanting to move forward because you perhaps doubt yourself, but also externally because it makes other people uncomfortable. To your point, it could be that they're insecure or they are, I'm going to say this as nice as I can. They're ignorant. They don't have the knowledge and skill set as you do in that particular field. So they feel threatened. They feel that either you're going to take their position or you're going to leave them, like, your boss said to you. And so that's why we also provide training or coaching, sorry. We provide coaching to upper management and middle management with optimal life and leadership coaching so that we can help to train and to teach coaches how to get in touch with themselves and to show up authentically and not to feel threatened by anyone else. Because if you're secure within yourself, then you'll be pushing your employees to go above and beyond, because that's what helps to make that organization, that institution, that business really successful. But you have to be true to yourself, and those negative external factors that then become internal of self-doubt, insecurity, immaturity, emotional immaturity, the ignorance part of it, of not knowing, how can you address those so that you can be authentic as a leader and stand firm and empower your employees? Then you have a more robust system in place of all of you working together as a team collectively. But if you have self-doubt, then that hinders, impacts, and impedes your progress. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to keep, my boss, I worked very hard for this man. And I think, it sounds egotistical to say he didn't want to lose me, but he didn't want to lose me.
That
And
happens, yeah.
maybe he didn't want to replace me. Maybe he didn't want to train somebody else. I don't know, whatever it was a threat to him. I mean, he literally said, you're going to leave me. And, if he had been more enlightened and been more, supportive of my particular situation, let me get you as good as you can be, and then
Right.
have me maybe even mentor the next person in, or you can make your organization so much stronger. And people are going to stay. People are going to leave when they don't feel like you're listening to them, that you're controlling them, that you're holding them down or pushing them too hard or whatever you're doing, and they're going to leave. And if you can make it so leaders can not necessarily like lead, but more partner with people, that they don't have to be, you may be in this level, but this person down here is as important. Like, I take a grocery store chain. Here you have like the CEO, but then you have the ones working in the store. Who is the one keeping this in business? Not the CEO, the people down the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You don't appreciate everybody along this line here, you're going to lose. You're going to have turnover. You're going to have bad press, bad whatever. And it just makes sense to have to be top down, top down, and your insecurities up here, always afraid if someone's going to take your place or usurp you or whatever it's going to be. It doesn't have to be that way if we can just get everybody to be so much more enlightened into how they can treat others and treat themselves. Because I'm sure the person that goes home, I'm sure my boss, who would come in on vacation and say, if I'm wearing jeans, I'm on vacation, he didn't have a life. I don't know what was going on in his home, but he clearly didn't have what would fulfill him. That job can't be fulfilling when you're living in fear and having all of that affect the wheel of life in all of the things that you do.
Right. Some leaders don't know how to lead, and they think that being a dictator or authoritarian, that's leading through fear. That's what works. But then when you start seeing that high turnover rate and you're losing your best employees, it's time to stop and take stock and ask yourself, why is that happening? And if you're making excuses and blaming everyone else instead of looking within and doing some self-reflection and then doing the work that is necessary to help bring about a positive change, then you're not going to, no matter where you go, you're going to take that with you and not be as successful. And we have seen that happen from time to time and time again. And it's unfortunate, and it doesn't have to be. But that's where we come in as coaches. We help to share those strategies. We help to coach individuals to, again, work from moving from functional to optimal, being the true authentic selves of who they are, looking at their values. And we've learned some strategies that we can work alongside those clients so that they can definitely give 110% no matter what it is that they're doing, wherever they are, or whatever external factors might be out there. They can still thrive and not just try and survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think more people are living what I call a survivor era. People don't even realize that they are spending every day surviving, and they don't even realize. And people like you call people who, like, I was a survivor of sexual abuse, but I don't find that to be the best part of my life, because when you're surviving, you're not making choices based on what really is what you believe in. You're doing it because you don't have a choice. And companies, they're trying to survive, because it's like, especially they're trying to survive, and then there's employees that push them. There's employees that will push the boundaries, and then they don't want to necessarily rock the boat. Like there's a lot of I don't want to rock the boat in all kinds of ways in companies and in families and in community organizations, where people just they don't necessarily they're not showing up how they want to show up. Let's put it that way, on both sides of it all.
And they're not being authentic to themselves. And then how successful is that company or that business? It's not.
Well, it could be successful monetarily, but your people are miserable and you have a high turnover. And yeah, you can force change. I mean, I've seen people that, if you want to take, like, I used to ride horses. You could beat a horse to do something, or you could get it to want to do it. You beat anybody into doing things, but what ultimately is your goal? Is it financial, or is it having great impact on the world around you? What do you want to leave as your legacy? So I want to leave as my legacy that I help people really live the best life that they could, that they actually, wow, I can live differently. I never even knew I could. I didn't know I had permission. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know what my options were. I thought I was so limited in this, and what the whole world's open to me. I'm not saying everybody can be an astronaut, but I'm saying is that there's a lot more possibilities for people that they really don't even know exist until they start learning about who they are more internally.
Right. And we can stay here and spend, like I said, this to each coach, because I enjoy the conversations that we have. Like I would say to each of you as coaches, is as if we're sitting on the back porch with a view, enjoying our favorite beverage, and we're solving all of the world's problems. And speaking of world's problems, as a coach, the times in which we're living right now in 2025, it's just really interesting, and it provides lots of continued opportunity for education as well as for coaching, definitely. If someone is perhaps now looking at all that's happening in the world politically, and what's happening around in the United States and just in the world, how can we help to hold space and encourage their spirits so that they don't feel like all is lost and hopeless, but what we're experiencing is an opportunity for continued education and growth.
Yeah. The
No matter
world.
no matter what side of the aisle you might be on, and I'm not getting into that, but just as an individual, how can we show up?
Well,
And
because this is science. We know this is science, that there is propaganda on both sides, and it's designed to get people to do what you want them to do, period. And the way for people, no matter to whatever side, the way for people to really navigate through this is to really know what they believe in their core, to be able to say, there's for example, there's a phrase that's family is everything. Well, I've had a couple of family members who have hurt me, and that rule is not a rule for me. It might be a rule for other people, but that is not a rule for me. So for people to be able to let go of what they think other people expect them to think is so important in everything. Like, even forgetting politics, somebody who's 25, 26 years old might be told, when are you going to get married? Right? When are you going to get married? How many people I know, so many people that got married in their 20s, they weren't even ready, but they did it because they were supposed to do it. And nobody put a gun to their head and said, do that. But they were like, there was that pressure. And then you get married. When you're going to have a kid, then you have a kid. When you're going to have another kid. And that's just a simplistic way of looking at it. Like, that we all influence each other, and we need to know what's influencing us that we really truly believe. And that's when you start having autonomy, that you start thinking as an individual person, as opposed to what your family, your friends, your society, your company, anything, your culture tells you is the fact for your life. Autonomy is, I think we need to be, I think that we need to be people who really understand, like I said before, at the core of what we are, to be able to get in there and say, do I really believe that? And if I do, why? And if I don't, why? And what is the alternative? What do I really want to believe? What do I really want to be doing? And it just takes courage to be able to say, I'm gonna open up that door where the mirror is, and I'm gonna look at myself. And that's what a coach will help do, in a very it's a very gentle way of being able to help people discover that without it being abrasive or too fast. It's a nice pace to be able to really be able to especially want to let go of things that you're not really, wow, I've been doing that for so long, I really don't believe, I don't want to be doing that. But yet there's an internal shame about having done it, and like letting that go and being like, okay, I do want to be different. I may be like, if I had a client who's 25 and they're thinking about getting married, and they really get in there and they're like, I'm getting married because my family expects me to, their family is really nice, and this is what I'm supposed to do. Okay, but I don't want to do that. But now I might hurt somebody in the process of changing my beliefs, and people don't want to necessarily hurt people by changing their beliefs. So they go on and they live in a way that's hurtful to themselves. And so to be able to say, I'm going to listen to you, I'm going to hear you while you're exploring this. It's a great place to be able to open up your own solutions.
And not have to do that alone, but you have someone that's there without judgment, but being curious, walking alongside you, and a safe space to either to vent or to bounce ideas off of, and to exchange those ideas with each other as a coach, walking alongside that client, while also building up those values as to, why is it true to me? Why do I believe this? And getting that empowerment out of it, that autonomy, as you mentioned, to be able to make a decision, stand by that decision, especially when those on the outside have been accustomed to calling the shots for your life, by being able to say, this is a boundary. Not to sound rebellious, but this is the life that I have. There's only one life that I have to live, and here's how I have chosen to live my life. And so to respect these boundaries that have been put into place.
Yeah, that reminds me of the song, the lyric that says, you can barely run your own life, I'll be damned if you'll run mine. But how many people are running other people's lives and they can't even run their own life? Because it's easier to run someone else's life than it is to run your own.
Yeah, and it's sad. Yeah, but again, that's where we as coaches, we come in with the law of being. We help clients to identify who they are, help them to create their values, and teach them some strategies in which they can then do some self-reflection and articulate and live authentically as their true selves. Yeah.
Yeah, and try it on. They don't have to take their life back and make changes like overnight, but to try it on, see what it feels like, see what it looks like for them to be trying a new perspective. And that's what the coaching environment also gives. It gives a place to say, oh, I wonder what it would be like if I were like this. And then you can choose how you want to implement it in your life.
And we're not talking about doing anything that's weird or out of the box thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Um, Again, and there's room, because I know there those who listen and who are viewing this, they're asking, well, what about spirituality? Is there room in the coaching for that? There is. There's actually a wheel of life, a spiritual wheel of life, as to where a person is on a scale from 1 to 10 and where they would like to be with their belief system. And for many people, that is what is their core that helps to lead and to guide them. And so they're being honest and true to that belief system that encompasses also loving and taking care of those who are less fortunate or those who are underserved. Then that would also show up and be reflected in how that person interacts with other individuals as well, whether those individuals look like them or not, whether they have choices that they have made that perhaps you as a person would not make. How can you still show up and be respectful and treat them with the same respect that you would want to be treated as well? So it's a lot that we do as coaches, but there's room at the table for anyone that wants to, again, move from just functioning, going through the motion, to I want to live that optimal life of giving 110, giving my best, giving my all authentically. How do I do that? And that's where, I would say, hey, check out Helen. She's an excellent person as a coach to help walk alongside you, or any of the other coaches as well. All right, Helen, any last thoughts that you'd like to share before we just wrap it up?
I think that if I could give anybody just some words of encouragement, again, it's your brain. It's your relationship that gets developed. All of these things are happening within you, and learn to be friends with yourself. Learn to understand yourself. Learn to be compassionate with yourself, because that's where you're going to start recognizing who you really are and what you really want. And you're just going to have a better experience. You're going to start making better choices. You're not going to be making as many choices you regret. I mean, how many people have regret a lot of things in their life? I'm making less regretful decisions than I've ever in my life. And that just makes life easier to get through. And like you said before, we only have one life. Let's live it the best way we can. And the best way to live it is to start knowing who we are as the living person.
Right. And you don't have to do this alone. You have wonderful certified professional coaches that can walk alongside you, because you are an MVP, the most valuable player in life. And you have a coach to help walk alongside you so that you can come up and be that authentic person. I keep saying that all the time, but being true to yourself first, and then being true to others. And again, giving above and beyond 110%. Because you want to, not because you feel like you're obligated to. And that's a wonderful feeling to have.
And this group has a lot of good coaches. I mean, check us out. I think they're amazing coaches, each one bringing their own perspective. I think it's a fantastic community that you've built here. And I think that people would really benefit from at least just checking out all of us, or not even just me, all of them, everybody, because we're all very unique, and yet we all have the same kind of training, and but I think it's a fantastic organization that is this part of this optimal
life and leadership coaching. Yeah. So we can live optimally. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Wonderful. No, thank you so very much, Helen, for sharing your thoughts and what you do as a coach, and just helping to walk alongside clients to help them to, move along and to grow and become a better version of themselves. So it was an honor sharing and spending some time with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining Positive Solutions with Dr. Gordon as we learned about different perspectives of contemporary social and educational issues. We hope to educate and encourage as we analyze those topics that are important to you. Please continue to join us every Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, as new episodes are uploaded on your favorite podcast directory. Remember, become that positive difference that creates a positive outcome in the lives of others as well as in your own life. See you next Sunday afternoon on Positive Solutions with Dr. Gordon.